My name is Cindy Corey, and I did my immersion project on a refugee family from Iraq. I first met this family at a place called Lighthouse Coffee. Lighthouse Coffee was started so that they can hire refugees, give them jobs, and provide a safe place for them to learn the culture and the language. The biggest obstacles to refugees is the language, and then second is finding a job and housing. And the culture plays a part in maintaining the job, but the language is the biggest barrier. I met with Muhammad, Shema, and Maryam al-Mashhadani. They are of the Muslim faith, and they arrived here in 2016. And my immersion took place in their home. We met in the afternoon, and Miriam introduced me to her younger sister and her younger brother. Her younger sister, Janet, hung out with Miriam and myself, and we looked at, or they shared with me some traditions and sayings and things that they do in Iraq in the schools or when they hang out with their friends, with their family. They demonstrated different activities and showed me videos of activities that them and their friends had participated in. Shema was working in the kitchen preparing a meal, and she would comment every now and then on things to add to what Miriam and Janet were explaining to me. Miriam and Janet tried to teach me a few Arabic words, which it shows how important it is to learn the language of the culture, because just the little bit of time that they practiced with me, I did not retain the language well at all, because I'm not immersed in it. Miriam also shared with me that Iraq is called the country of poets, which is not a term I would have put with Iraq. But the people there love to write and say and speak poetry. Some of the most popular people in Iraq are poets. They're more popular than musicians and movie stars, and she dabbles some in her poetry. She wouldn't recite any for me, but she does post some on social media. When Shema had finished preparing the meal, she placed it all out on the table, and we had shawarma and pecans and chocolate-covered pretzels, and she served Diet Coke and water. We had both. We sat and talked for a long time, and as we ate, more food came out. She brought out oranges and kiwis and biscuits, which we would call crackers or cookies. And as it got later in the evening, she made some tea with cardamom in it, which smelled wonderful. And one of the things they do, if you say you like something, they give it to you. So I went home with oranges and kiwis and shawarma and tea with cardamom in it, which I'm still enjoying today. So throughout the meal, and as we sat there late and into the night, Miriam's father came home. Shema's husband, Mohammed. Earlier in the day, Miriam and her sister had shared with me about engagement, which is kind of a dating process, but it's a lot stricter and more defined, more guidelines to it, more formal than what we do here in the States, and marriage traditions. And Mohammed went more in detail with the traditions, and they went into prayer rituals and showed me and demonstrated the different body postures and all the things that they needed to do. They pray 5 times a day, and while I was there, 2 of the alarms went off for time for prayer while I was there, and they would demonstrate to me what they do in their prayers. Muhammad also went into detail about the father's role in the family. He did not come across as a overbearing male dominant figure. He was just very nice and very inviting and warm, and we sat and had a really great conversation late into the night. The acculturation of this family has happened differently for the different family members. Miriam was 15 when she moved here, and she has two younger siblings. They were each put into schools, and they were immediately immersed in the English language, in the culture. So they caught, and they're younger too, and it caught on very quickly with them. Miriam prides herself at looking American. People don't always realize that she is Iraqi or Middle Eastern. They all have lighter skin, so our textbook said that lighter skinned people from the Middle East tend to be more accepted, and that is definitely the case because many times people mistake Miriam for American, and she likes that. She takes great pride in looking American. She's still very attached to some of her Iraqi things that she loves to do, and I will go back into that in more detail. One of them is the poetry. Muhammad had an easier transition. He spoke 5 languages before coming here. He was a language instructor at a university in Iraq. So he was educated, and he was educated in language. So when he got here, he didn't have to really learn the language. He had to learn the dialect, but he was really able to jump into a job quickly and get completely immersed in the culture at work. The only part that's sad about this is that he is not teaching language anymore. He is working at a furniture warehouse. Shema had a much more difficult time. She spoke very little English. She didn't have a job or any friends or any family. And for the first year of her life here in the States, she shared with me that she cried every day. And it was just such a hard time for her. But our church, the chapel on the campus, has conversation partners for international people. We are on the campus of LSU and have lots of international students come to our church, or we draw them in for different things such as English lessons and conversation partners. So once she got a conversation partner, she started working at Lighthouse. She was able to start really learning and being immersed in the language. And everybody there is trained to work with each of the refugees to help them with cultural differences and language. And so once all that started, she started fitting in much better and making friends. And she is just an absolute delight and wonderful person, and she makes the best baklava in the world. The takeaway from this is my ideas of Middle Eastern people basically came from what was shown in the news. Anger, fighting, oppression, a dictatorship, just mean, ugly, nasty things. And walking into the home of this family, being greeted and welcomed in unconditionally. They just loved on me. They provided food. They helped me do this project. It was just amazing. They take responsibility for their own actions. They seek peaceful resolution to conflicts. They want unity between other races and tribes and religion. And they demonstrated all that in our conversations and everything that we did that evening. They love on people. They want to be with people. They love community. What I can take from them is that they have a devoted prayer life and worship life that I can't say mine compares to them. They're not perfect, but I could learn a lot from their rituals and the way that they do things. They demonstrate unconditional acceptance for anybody, and that's another thing. And as a counselor, I need to be able to demonstrate that unconditional acceptance of others. And the biggest thing is their collective culture. They just so miss being with people and having people in their homes all the time and having family right next door. So having the opportunity to meet and enter the home of this Muslim family from the Middle East has just really relieved fears, defeated stereotypes, and has helped me see that these are people made by God who just need to be loved. So I'm going to leave you with an Arabic saying. I'm not promising that I'll say it perfectly. Alhamdulillah, which means praise be to God or thank God. And when they're speaking to you, this is the last thing that they say. Alhamdulillah.